Good job, Daniel. We missed that. We missed that. It's here.
Sit on the girl side.
All right, we'll get rid of that, all right? That needs that. Hey.
Anybody want to question?
It's time. Hey, did you miss that happen? Have you missed it? We missed you. All right. All right. So everyone knows phones off. If you have to take a call, completely understand. You gotta walk outside. Don't take your phone. You're gonna donate $5 for your invoice to Cares for Kids. I got your stomach.
So I would take notes from my phone. That's not bad.
No, that's fine. You just can't take a call. Right? Because maybe somebody else is asking a question or it triggers a different thought in their head or interrupts whatever. So that's all it is. We're trying to be respectful, right? So they can hear, listen, and be focused. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Only those who have learned the power of sincere and selfless contribution experience life's deepest joy, true fulfillment. Try to apply this in our lives as we move forward in the second quarter. Right? Let's learn to pay it forward. Make sure that we are God family business, whatever that means to everybody. If you see it, it needs some help. Right? There's a lot of my life I wish I could go back and change and help a lot of people. Can't do anything about that, but we keep forward. I can correct every step or change every step I make if I feel like I'm making it wrong. So we can all do the same thing. So everything's not about real estate. We're just in these bubbles, right? And sometimes we just gotta reflect. Last night was on our work plate. And just kind of like pumping, venting, whatever, right? Walk outside, get her car go start and start getting stuck. But it helped me realize that we're not just here to sell houses, that real things happen to us no matter what. And I have to judge facts, no matter what, right? And it goes a long way. So when you see someone in distress, or you see someone that has a question or a problem, and they don't know the system, just take a minute and help them. Nothing's going to happen unless we get that. It's paying it forward. We can agree on that, right?
Yes.
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 Good. Because we're capable.
Because we're human beings.
Because we're human beings. And the purpose doesn't matter. Just good people. Right? Yes. Love the interacting. Davis here, our attorney, so we appreciate him. Dave's going to talk.
Got a lot of requests for these, so we got our March classes for this, or March, obviously. The first one is the 3-hour CE class on license law. That's March 12th from 10 to 1. There's another one that's just an hour, non-CE, but it's on the FHA contingency. And that's March 18th at 10 o'clock as well. We got flyers for both of these, and I'm going to leave them here. In case you need anything.
They are on your calendars. So raise of hands if you don't get the monthly calendar in your email. Or if you don't check it. Love your son. Number 2, is it connected to your Gmail? Does everyone know how to connect it? Is it connected? Because what I've heard, you got yours connected or not? Okay. What I've heard is some people don't have theirs connected. So if you don't, see Princeton or me and we'll get to make sure it's done. Right? Because you should be checking your calendars daily and choosing what you're going to. I'm not saying come to every class here, choose so you can go to, right? So
Yeah.
Thanks for the classes. They really, really do help.
Yeah, no problem.
They really help you. Yeah.
Lots of follow-up questions and stuff, so that's good. Anybody have any questions or any help?
Anybody have any questions on these guys?
I actually, I'm going to talk to you this afternoon. I have some great question about a week. Just not really this, but just how taxes and what happens to the when it kind of fail and things like that. So it's take on how they feel about that and that's the is what I like that. Not relevant stage, you have the work plan, you can want it.
There's multiple things in that. Okay, yeah, there's multiple things. So Cindy, so you can choose. You have to choose what you go through.
One of them, so.
These are on Zoom. So this is like, oh, okay, these are on Zoom.
Yeah.
If you look at the March calendar, you'll see this tax, really good stuff in this March calendar. But I wanted to repeat what she said. So Cindy had a question about these tax sales and what happens when people don't pay their taxes and it goes to sell, or maybe even if we stop it before here.
Do you want to ask it right now, or do you want to wait?
I mean, actually, it's a personal thing. My sister
Oh, okay.
has property that she's not paying her taxes on. Her dad passed away, gave her the house. I mean, I can't say it. She won't pay the taxes.
Well,
She doesn't have any responsibilities. She doesn't bother with it. And she has a young son that I want to make sure I can save this property so that they don't lose it and end up homeless. Or I just pay the taxes all the time and then.
When you go to sell, you have to pay the tax.
Right.
Property taxes at least.
Yeah. But I'm just afraid like she'll lose the house, not paying the taxes.
Yeah, you can do that.
So,
Is there?
there's no mortgage. It's completely paid for. And like, I can't make her pay the taxes, but I'm also not going to pay the taxes every year just to have her something happen later and her lose the house or sell the house or whatever and leave her son without a house. So I'm really trying to protect her son. But
I mean, you feel like that doesn't really affect the tax situation.
No, you gotta pick one.
I would pay the taxes, but I'm trying to figure out what I can do if I continue to pay the taxes, what agreement I can get with her to make sure that her son is safe. Her son, the property is safe.
The only thing that I could think of would be either you go on the title or the son goes on the title.
He's only 9.
Then you go on the title.
I just don't want it. It was actually my grandmother's house who sold it to her dad. He died and left it to her. And I don't want that property lost.
That's the only thing I can think of. Is put yourself on the title. Just say, look, you
And I know that,
you do the deed, you put me on the title, and I'll figure it out, John.
and now that can be a mess if you're trying to sell somebody's house with 3-4 people on the deed. I've run into that several times, but I actually want it to be a mess in this case.
Sure, yeah, that's the only thing that I
Okay,
think.
and I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Michelle.
I was gonna ask Sue, say for instance, if she doesn't decide to pay it like right away, is there like, you know how people buy, okay, so somebody else paying it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that other person is paying it. How can you keep up with, to take it yourself, at some point you want to take over. But in the meantime, it's the other person that's paying it, and they don't even have to pay it.
Yeah.
Some kind of years, and then they can get it or something like that.
Mortgage assumptions are always extremely risky, and they're starting to be a little bit more popular.
Yeah.
But most of the time, we won't even touch it.
Yeah, so my family buys a lot of properties at tax sales, and so the redemption period, it varies.
Okay, that's a little bit different.
That's different, right? Mortgage assumption.
And I don't want this
Yeah,
tax thing on that.
Oh, tax.
So
I'm
that,
saying taxes, not lawyers, like, she said the house is free,
yeah,
so, the people, yeah.
Yeah.
You can pay taxes, how long
Taxes
is
sound changes.
depends on the state, the county sometimes. Like in my case, in South Carolina, the redemption period is 2 years. So I go pay the taxes, and then they have 2 years to recover the property. Some of it's a year actually, but some part of North Carolina is 2 years. They have at that time to pay me back, and then I gain interest on it. The max I'll gain is 20% in some of the states. But it's worth it.
We're deep in the weeds, 15 minutes into
We
our.
are.
So if you
Sorry.
want these come up, talking to the attorney privately is the way to go.
Well, but it's a big topic. And honestly, that was kind of what I wanted just to,
Yeah.
there are a lot of situations out there
Weird
that we
stuff.
run into, and that's good stuff. So, and he always has the answers, and he always tells me to stay in the lane.
Let me explain something else to you. This will take about 15 minutes. Is that
Yeah.
helps?
No. It is a good subject. We can do a class on it. I'll get with Princeton. We'll put it on the calendar. Thank you, South Warriors, for lunch today. It is from the table. I can't get you. That's fine. Okay. Let's keep it.
It's animation.
See. So
You already did it.
I'm good. All right, great. Okay, so we went to this thing called family reunion. We all know about that, okay? Big cluster. Yeah, raise your hand if you don't know what family reunion is, and I'm gonna separate Jade in a second. Raise it. Okay, so some of you don't know. Family reunion was what I wrote down in my notes when I went in and I tried to put all my notes together. Massive learning, huge networking experience. There were thousands of KW agents there, team leaders, real estate professionals, some not KW that I met. Probably three. One was a $45 million producer from Ford, and he was at a KW convention on his own. On his own. It was a blend of keynote sessions, the breakouts, in my opinion, this was my best figure. So the breakouts, in my opinion, were, if you could get into them, they were great. Let me say that before y'all say it, because they were cool. Like most, except for like some land and commercial. On the other side, they were so cool. The keynote speakers that I heard that we went to that was there was Gary Keller, of course, Gary Vee, who was actually my favorite, if you know his language, Donald Miller, and Jay Shetty. And Ken and I went to the CEO Summit, and there was a guy named Neil Patel. But and I'm telling you those names so you have to write them down and go back and research them. So a lot of it was on AI, social media, branding. Neil Patel is a businessman, and I will watch and learn everything that he has to offer. So write those things down so you guys can go and read it. Gary Vee was great. What was the last one you said? Yeah, so Gary Keller. Y'all want to know who Gary Keller is, right? Gary Vee. Donald Miller, Jay Shetty, and Neil Patel. So we'll kind of get into it a little bit. And Ken is going to have a lot of fun here, guys. So there's a lot of data on the vision speech that we went over. So we're going to kind of go through that a little bit. We're going to ask them some questions, okay? The thing in the U.S. is driving real estate, which I learned is connected a lot to Canada on this family, and I had to go research that. Home sales, y'all should write this down because it's the research you need to put in your free listing, your listing packets, and your buyers. Home sales, home prices, market volume, inventory, mortgage rates, and affordability. These are all things we talk about on our market updates every month.
Can I ask a question real quick? Just real quick. Are you gonna take the slides that people want to?
Yeah, we send them out every week, so you'll get them. Okay. And we're gonna send out the vision speech. But it's also on Connect. So I'm gonna let Ken handle some of this data from here.
Okay. This doesn't really do much. Let's see. That's what you need to see. The monthly numbers just shows you the seasonality factors. If you've got 24 is in pink, 25 is in blue, and 26 is in yellow. Don't get too fired up about the changes here. That's the number you need to see. So you're looking at home sales annually in the US. These are not including new construction. This is basically single family home sales. Actually, that may be the total, 4.1 million. If you look, you got to go all the way back to 2008 at the start of the crash before you get the number of units that low, right? And so the units picked up into the mid fives. If you look in the 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, we were in that below mid 5 million range. And then we had the bump up with the fake mortgages all the way up to 7.1 million, which is insane when you look at it for the next 25 years. And then you have the crash. And the crash bottomed out at 4.1 million sales per year, and that's what we've been at the last 3 years. So if you're wondering why it's been tougher in real estate, that's the reason why it's been tougher. Okay, because it's actually tougher. They do expect it to go up slightly. What Gary Keller said is that's probably you're not gonna feel that difference until fourth quarter. So it's gonna basically, this year's gonna feel like last year. So if you want to feel different, you better do different. We're gonna talk about that. Home prices. This is the graph that should be in every single listing presentation. How many people you guys gone into a buyer presentation and they said homes are too expensive, they're not a good value? Has anyone had that? Raise your hand high so people can see it. Okay. What you're looking at here is the 4% long-term appreciation trend in real estate.
Okay.
It's like the moving of the tides. They come and go, but they're predictable. And the predictable is real estate in the United States has averaged a 4% return forever. Okay. You can see when it goes above that line, the numbers 04, 05, 06, that's already a market and you have a reaction. And that's where the crash hit. And then we had this long, slow slope where we were way under that line. But by the time you get back to 2020, you're back over the line. And then we had COVID and the shortage for there, and it drove prices way up. And they're still creeping up, but they're creeping up slower than the 4%, right?
Yeah.
And so that line has a chance to kind of catch up, and that's what we're seeing right now. If it's economics, they talk about a soft landing. Having very low inventory, keeping those prices kind of flat is giving us a soft landing in terms of appreciation value. The good thing about this is you can go to almost any place on that 10-year period, and the price you pay for a home, you don't lose money if you hold it for 10 years or longer. Cool. So the thing that people ask, if I were to come in here in 2005, when the price was 222, average price, way over that line, and everybody said those are a bad deal, but I can tell you right now, you can go back to 2005 and buy any piece of real estate that you wanted. Would you buy it?
Yeah.
Why? Because now the average is 423.
Right.
And you can do that for any 10-year period. So when people tell you it's too expensive, compared to what? Is it over the trend line? Yes. Can you wait for it to come down? Possibly. But if you need a home if you don't buy now and you wait another 3 years or even 6 months and the rates go to 4.5, what's going to happen to prices again? Up. Buy when you need it. That's the key. All right. All right. Next slide. Home prices annual appreciation. You can see in 06 through 11, that was the crash time. So you saw some serious drop off in value. And then in the COVID 20 to 22, you saw these monstrously high value. I mean, 18%. I don't know about y'all, but I got me some of that.
Yes.
2023 to 25, you're averaging 2.4. So again, you're below trend, and all that's doing, you're still gaining money, just not very fast. And that's helping the trend line to catch up to where prices are. All right. That makes anybody questions on these? These are pretty easy. All right. Inventory. Way the heck down, man. This is months of supply, right? Balanced to 6 months. That's the dashed line. We're right now at 4.2. We've been slowly coming up since 21 when we had no inventory at all. But we're still in a nominally seller's market. Okay. When I do my calculations, anything between 5 months and 7 months, like 5.0 and 7.0 is balanced to me. You're in the range. So we're creeping up towards a balanced market. Now this is US. Individual markets can change. Individual price points can be very different. I focus on that substantially when I do my reports. So what do we know about Rockdale under 400 grand? That is a buyer's market, people. It's a buyer's market. All right.
Can I ask a question real quick too? How do you think that the World Cup, I think it's the World Cup that's coming here, will affect the market?
Zero.
Okay, cool.
It's per month, and FIFA don't take all that money and run with it. So it's not going to have any impact on maybe the overall economy in the same way that the Super Bowl will, but it's not going to affect housing.
Yeah.
Mortgage rates. We're sitting at about 5.9-ish right now, which is getting better. If you notice though, the long-term trend from 72 to 23 is 7.72. And that's because in the 70s things got stupid. 70s and 80s things are really high. If you look at that green line, that's actually from 1990 to 23, we've averaged a 6% rate. Now we haven't felt that for a while because you got all those months where we were coming out of the crash, and the Fed kept the rates really super stupid low, and it kind of spoiled people. And then COVID made it even worse.
I was gonna let, Billy speak a little bit on this. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's right on point. I was just thinking about that interest rate question, and we're hovering around 6%. That is really, really right on point. And that's what conventional loans, it can go even more attractively lower on the FHA side.
Yeah.
FHA is a little bit more of an expensive loan, so to speak, but rates get people's attention. Sometimes they don't care about that. They want to rate in the mid fives, and we have that in the FHA world. I think we're taking rates off the table so long as you haven't been overly spoiled with what happened in COVID. So the rate of Texas is easy to overcome at this point.
The other thing that they pointed out is every single year that you get away from 3% rates, more people with 3% rates are selling their homes for whatever they have to sell them for. And so the percentage of people with really, really, really low rates is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
Smaller. And as the rates come down slightly and the number of people with really low rates is less, more and more sellers can make the decision to trade a lower rate for a slightly higher rate because they want to. There's so many people that are locked in at sub 5 when rates in 23, when rates spiked at 8%, basically 7.8, 7.9. Well, you have a 3% rate. If you're going to move up, you weren't just seeing a $500 increase in payment. You're seeing a $2,000, $2,500 increase in payment. They're like, I'm not moving. That's crazy, right? People won't move because it's too expensive price, or people won't move because it's too expensive payment, right?
Right.
That's getting better every day. Just keep that in mind. Mortgage rates monthly. Look at that. It moves. Unemployment is down. I mean, it's kind of inched up a little bit. They did make some comments that we need to keep an eye on this. Tariff pressure is a big thing. More importantly, is AI is starting to make efficiency to a point where you're losing white collar jobs. That's very different piece. I mean, it's one thing when Amazon makes bookstores go out and a $6 an hour bookstore lady loses her job. Everybody's like, that's a shame. But when the $150,000 a year check engineer loses his job, along with 1,500 more of them in the same city, that will destroy an economy.
Yes.
Watch
Keep
that.
that on your mind. Well, Seattle, Silicon Valley, Denver, Charlotte, anybody that does finance jobs that deal with computers, anybody that's doing coding, anybody that's doing engineering can work with computers is susceptible to having eliminated because AI is making the efficiency so good they don't need the jobs. Okay. It's the horseshoe guy from the 21st century, right? So let's just be aware that we may see unemployment. Keep an eye on that this year.
Yeah.
Hey, look, job openings. You can see the job openings are in yellow. There were a lot more job openings, but that's starting to change and the unemployment rates are starting to creep up over it. When that thing inverts like that, that is danger to the economy. That means that there's more people looking for jobs than there are jobs to have them, and that's a problem, right? Okay. Job growth, take a look at that. It moves. Wealth and income. This is an interesting stat.
Okay, let's look.
Age 30 balance sheet. Now, these numbers are adjusted to today's dollars. So if you're a baby boomer and you're saying, my average income, my net worth, or what was that? My asset, I didn't have $150,000 in 1968 when I was 30 years old. That's because these are adjusted for inflation.
Right.
The key to this is that let's start with assets. Baby boomers averaged 150,000, Gen X had 214, and millennials had 219. How many of you guys remember in 2010, 2011, all the news crowded about how these poor millennials don't get a fair shake and their parents screwed it up for them? You want to know why that total assets went up? Because those guys bought houses for $68,000 in 2010.
Yeah.
They did just fine, right? Average total debt. The debt load has gone up. Average mortgage debt. The mortgage is double. Mortgage debt is double. Average net worth has gone up so, and median net worth has gone up as well. So what does this mean? That this is still a place where the American dream is alive and well. we talk about it in numbers because we see these big numbers and everybody's like student debt. And yeah, that's bad for the people that's got student debt, but not everybody has $75,000 in student debt. Okay. Not everybody got 17 years worth of schooling on Uncle Sam's dime and then they want to pay it back at $100 a month. That ain't everybody, right? So the key is that on average, every future generation up to Gen Z, which we don't know because they're still in their 20s, has been in a better financial position relative to the generation that came before. That's the key. And now, how many of y'all have heard that on the news?
Oh,
Not me.
no.
Oh, they screwed up everything, right? There you go. So the reality is a little bit better than the narrative.
Right.
Job growth. This is huge because, okay, let's look at the job growth. Healthcare and social assistance, that's a huge increase in jobs in 2025 relative to an average year. Leisure and hospitality was a little bit, was actually down. It's still positive, but it's down, right? So what this means is that on an average year, you have 482,000 healthcare jobs. And last year we had 781,000 healthcare jobs. We almost doubled it. That's a lot. That's a lot of job openings and people taking those jobs. But the rest of the economy is either below trend or in the negative. And I want y'all to notice construction was literally 1,000 jobs negative year over year. So if you want to know why the market's tough, it's because construction, information, manufacturing, professional and business services, government, and trade and transportation all had a net loss of jobs. And financial activities and leisure and hospitality had less than normal. Okay. So unless you were selling homes to a nurse, your people were probably like, I'm going to see what happens. Right. How many have people selling sidelines like, I'm just going to wait?
You know,
That's a lot of people wait.
yeah, Ethan and I talked about where farming would come up on that. And the only thing we could think of was probably somewhere around the trade, transportation, and utilities. So that that it's a struggling business out there.
Yeah.
There may be some farmers and some people who need some help.
Yeah. I think that the issue with that is the farming doesn't show up because it's such a small number of people that have jobs that turn over every year. It's not one of the top 10. So. All right, next one. Consumer sentiment. People think it sucks. That's $20. Hey guys, we thought in 2019 life was good. COVID comes around, we thought life sucked. January 21 come around, we thought it was pretty darn good. And then the race went next spit, we thought, man, this sucks. And then we kind of lived our life a little bit in 23 and 4, and then it just kind of bottomed out. Look what happened in October of 24. I don't know if that has anything to do with an election, but the timing is suspicious. But the sentiment overall is very good. Now, this is not a number that has any quantifiable thing. This is vibes. Vibes right now are not good. Okay, but they picked up a little in January, so maybe we're on the right track.
So can we stop right here? Well, this one is actually the one later.
Yeah.
So this is the one where I wanted to ask a couple of people on the panel.
Yeah.
How are you seeing, what are your clients saying to you as far as the vibe, we call a vibe now? What is that's not my verbiage, but that you're hearing back from your buyers and sellers on the sentiment around let's buy, let's not buy, the rates? What are they actually saying? What are the words they're using? And the reason I wanted to explain through the script that you're playing back, let's make sure we're hearing what Finn is saying. Stephen, what are your clients?
I would say I'm getting definitely a lot more interest since the rates are coming down. As far as prices, I'm still getting pushback about price. So ideally, well, let me say this. So I am expressing to the clients that we are transitioning, in a transitioning market. So the prices are, in certain price points, well, most price points coming down. And with that lower interest rate, it does make it a lot more affordable.
Now, did rates go up yesterday? I read an article.
Well, that has to do with the floor. Absolutely. The floor are going to go up.
100%. And we need to understand that, right? As we put this out on social media, that rates are dropping. Let's be careful with what we say, right? Because they are volatile, especially in the state that I'm in, right? Um, on the commercial side, Christine, is it still what we're seeing? Is commercial still kind of in a section, or are they bouncing back a little bit? Like, what are we seeing on the commercial side?
Well, it depends on what type of commercial it is. Like office space, still just. But I'm not seeing as much office space even available. So I don't know if they're just not trying to sell. But we just, the whole brick and mortar is, it has not recovered from COVID, and I don't know that it will. And AI is only gonna, keep affecting that as well.
Yeah.
Now, as far as other like retail and stuff like that, it's pretty good, and pretty strong.
Well, that's good.
I want to run through a little like exercise. 1966, good time to buy was 12%. What was going on in 1966?
I was born.
What? What were in the middle of people that are older than 20? This whole race. It's the middle of the Vietnam War, man. We went from like 30,000 troops to 485,000 troops.
Yeah.
I ain't buying a home with that. But that's what 12% looks like. Does anyone know what was going on in 1981 when sentiment was 20%? Man, you making some money this week.
That's what. Well, okay, let's not do that.
It's like, they love it. I'm sorry.
You got
I will give you a hint. In 1981, the interest rates topped out at about 18% on the mortgage. Would that have been a good time to buy? So how in the world are we at 17% when we've got 6% rates and 4.2% unemployment? I will tell you, okay? There's the question is percentage of respondents who answered now is a good time to buy a home. Let's think of the people who would answer no, now is not a good time to buy a home. Would that include anybody that's in a home that has a 3% rate? Would that include anybody that's in a home that has anything below about a 5.5% rate? So let's knock out about 50% of the population right now. They said, it's not a good time for me to buy a home.
Right.
Then we have the millennials and the Gen Zs. And what are they hearing about whether buying is a good deal versus renting is a good deal? Too expensive to buy a home. What's happening to rents the last year and a half? Anybody know? They're going, they're dropping. So if you ask a Gen Z or whose rent just went down $100, now's a good time to buy a home and jump up $1,600 a month in payment. What are they going to say? Again, this is a vibes thing, but when you have a qualified buyer, the narrative needs to get away from not why is it not a good time to buy a home to why isn't it a good time for you to buy a home, right?
Okay.
We got to get away from the negative narrative and into their personal experience and then advise them on what they want their life to look like and what's the fastest and best way to achieve that.
Over the period of time. Okay, got it. All right.
Can we move on?
Yeah. Well, I want to add to that. I have a buyer currently that's paying $2,200 a month in rent. And what she's wanting is roughly around 24 to 26. And so it's with that ideal. But essentially I had to give her the numbers. I said, hey, this $2,200 a month over a period of a year, it's X amount. I said, yes, paying mortgage will be a little bit more. However, you're gaining equity. So showing her that big number made a huge difference in her perspective. And staying at this amount versus maybe just bumping it up 100. Because of course I would, very much. But maybe just bumping it up a little bit. And at least she's earning, getting some equity in the property she will be owning.
It helps her make
a choice.
I'm sorry.
That's actually what made me buy a house, was I totaled up all the rent I had paid while I was in college, and then after I got out when I was teaching, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I could have just bought a whole house, like just that. And so that's a great
And she's been in her rental for 9 years, 7 months.
But this is a good point to say, this is the realtor going from, let me sell a house to let me be your advisor. Let me help you make a good decision. And then taking into account her budget and what she can actually afford, and then helping open her eyes to what she wants and needs. That's what we have to do, right? We're problem solvers.
That's pure consultant.
That's consulting. Yes.
Is there, are there other ways to, address that? Besides, okay, can you, are there other ways that you can address that?
Cindy, how would you address that situation? That's me, that kind of versus.
So, yeah, so I would do that. I would help them just compare, I would compare what there is going on out there, and what the prices are and then how they can save the funds from being a renter and having, no, because there's some things that they weigh on, like you don't have to, if you're renting, a lot of times you don't have to take care of the property, and sometimes it's better for people to rent. And we actually have an older, I shouldn't say elderly couple buying right now, which, to get out of renting because they're paying $2,300 a month in rent. But I'm a little concerned when they get into this house where they're still paying $2,300 and then they have a yard to take care of and they have things to take care of.
Yep.
And it's gonna be a little harder on them, but that's what they want and we're helping them. But I think just making it clear that they know what the difference is in renting and buying, money and
With responsibility.
Yeah, I would say, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, so just to give another added piece to that, along with the equity,
Okay.
of course, depending on what their age is, where they are in life, you're earning this equity. But say, you're building this equity and you could sell this property and cash out that equity to buy something else. You're building a reserve over here that can be used in the future as well. So it's not just about, that month to month. This is something they can be building. They have money. It's, the investment to put into something else. Even if it's a move down.
I read a book from a woman who basically retired at 32 years old with $1 million. Okay. And she was a fierce advocate for renting and thought buying was a scam. Okay. And what made that work is the fact that the average mortgage in her area was going to be like $2,500 a month back in whenever she was doing this 20 years ago. And she was able to rent her apartment unit in Toronto, because of course it's going to be Canadian, for like $1,150 a month. I mean, where not next to a meth house can you rent something for $1,150 a month? Like, I don't know about, that's not any place I want to rent, right? So the key to the whole thing is it's not just if you could rent and not and suffer and invest your money that you're not paying for everything else to build a nest egg that would allow you to do what you want, then renting will pay off. How many of you guys know people that are in an apartment that save $2
Most people are going to this.
They're going to live their life the way they live their life. The reason why owning is better for 99% of the population, it's not just that the home appreciates in value, is that a portion of your mortgage payment that grows every single payment is going towards paying down the debt. And every year the rent that you're paying is going to go up 3 to 5% because that's what rent does. And so if you go 10 years down the road, not only has your home appreciated 4% a year, let's say you got $100,000 in equity of appreciation, you've also got another $100,000 of paid off debt. So you have $200,000 in equity in the house, and your payments are $500 or $600 less than the new rent now because the rent keeps going up.
But I'm going to tell you, you got to be able to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Hear the problems and then see the solution, right? You don't have to answer it and get back to it, but you have to be able to hear what they're actually saying and you form the clarity, because if a person's talking just to talk and you zone them out because you're just trying to sell them a house, you're going to get nowhere.
Yeah.
Also with the rent versus buying is, I've gathered a lot in conversations that I've had, like consultations and everything on renting can be kind of restrictive. You have somebody you're interested to, you have a landlord, all of that. But with buying, you have complete freedom. You can paint the wall and whatever you want. You can do whatever you want and not have that restriction. especially if you're living in a apartment situation and you have those common walls and stuff like that. I'm like, you can actually buy your home and feel a little bit at peace.
And if you want to have any kind of price control over your apartment setup, you're gonna move every year.
Yeah.
Because if you stay where you're at, they're gonna jack your rate up.
The only anything is better than rent.
But we have to educate that person as well, to get them there in that mindset.
Absolutely. It's how you think, it's how you look at it.
It's how you look at it. See the big picture, right? Cheaper is not always better.
So patients are just like.
That's right.
Patients are.
Some of the rental, you can't, I probably couldn't fall out of it. Here.
I think someone needs to teach a class on the benefits of owning over renting.
Yeah.
And I think the person that really, really, really wants to get really good at that conversation should volunteer to teach the class. So that's how you're gonna learn.
Yeah, I agree. And, Bree?
Along with the numbers, because I know like equity versus not, I also break down the numbers as far as renting versus buying, because not everybody is educated on what it takes to rent a home specifically.
Yeah.
When you need to make 3 times the, monthly payment, and they're like, credit's especially sensitive, but they still look at credit. They still look at that. And then also the security deposit, all the money they need up front, and the process is still pretty much along with the rate.
And in this conversation, it's like you can bring in Billy, right? To have that, because not all of us know how to inform people on wealth building, because that's really what it is. You could do that for your home buyer seminars, for your consultations, whatever it is, excuse me. But you need to have those conversations. You can't have those conversations if you're not practicing those conversations going out to the class, right? Quentin, what was your best part of Finnery this year? Education wise.
Yeah, not park parking.
Yeah. No worries.
I would say my best part is probably a combination of Donald Miller. His class was really good. How you structure your conversations as a story. I thought that was good. How you're the guy for their story. They are the hero, essentially. That's probably one. It's something that I took from Gary Vee, which I'm sure all of us sort of took, was the amount that he's posting online. When he said it, something clicked inside of me that said, it's not really about being on social media. It's more so being present, because we don't have a brick and mortar where people are driving by.
Right.
So how do we tell people open for business, right? And that's social media. So for me, that was like, that's me opening my door. So me being on 7 different platforms is literally me just saying, I have a portal for you to access me. And you need to know how to access me, or any questions that you have, you know how to get into a hold of me. So those two were the best ones educationally wise. And then my commercial was fun, but it wasn't good.
Now, we'll say on the social media side, we have some classes coming up next week. Sarah Gillespie will be zooming in for another market center. You need to tune into that. You can be pregnant because she has built a business for YouTube, a big business, and she's local, right? But I was going to say about that, when we're posting, you need to be mindful that these people are probably going to your one page or whatever it is they're on Facebook. So if you're posting stuff, not as a professional, you're probably misleading them. Right? So make sure you're like, they want to see who we are. No, they do, because sometimes we're doing some stuff that might not like be what they want to see. Might not be in the right on.
But I can't do those.
I think people differ on this.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel like they have to live their truth in public all the time, especially younger folks. I subscribe to Michael Jordan's attitude about it. It's like everybody buys shoes. So if it ain't business and it's not your life, if you're taking a position, you're offending half of everybody on any position. Now, some positions need to be taken, and I get that. And some positions are 95% to 5, and if you're on the 95 side, you're 5. But if it's politics, if it's religion, If it's that sort of thing, if it's social stuff, you're most likely offending half the people that are watching you.
However, I also subscribe to the like, we work with people that we know, like, and trust, and if me taking a stance on one particular thing offends those people, then those aren't the people that I know, like, exist. So that's, I'm gonna give a fine slip.
And that's what James will say. James will say, he's got some great stuff going on right now, and yeah, he says, you do you, but recognize that it will change your audience, and that's actually, I thought Giselle, she rocked my world about being on social media, about being real, and about being able to connect. That it's all about connections and the perceived connections. So I'm going to connect with the people that I know, like us. So those,
All I will say, and not even rebuttal, but to add a little more texture to that, is that my business is about helping people achieve home ownership and to move and further their lives. What they think of the president, what they think of my religion, has zero bearing on my ability to help them in their life. And the more I insist on expressing my opinions towards things that have nothing to do with my business, I am limiting who I want to work with. And if I said everyone who disagrees with me, I don't care what they think, they can move along, there wouldn't be two people that I've ever done business with, because I have strong opinions about lots of stuff.
yeah, it's a choice, though. It's choice.
And it's freedom of speech, it's all the stuff that you choose to run your business.
That is, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying you hide it under a bushel, okay? That is not what I'm saying. More than once, I've told a client, hey, I know that you're fighting me over whether you need to have us list this house, but God brought you into my sphere for a reason, because I'm good and I'm the person that's going to help you do this.
Yeah.
And that's me living my faith, but I ain't living it on Facebook.
Right.
I'll say this, because this is gonna go both ways.
Yep.
I run my business the way Candace said. Let me be honest and transparent. However, I have posted on my social media pictures of my children. See, they're my children. I have posted pictures of me and my husband on Facebook. So TikTok, all the stuff. I don't post that stuff if my daughter knows, or whatever. I have gotten clientele that I have acted like doing business with text me and say, I didn't understand that you were married outside of Christ.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
You don't
saying.
need to
That's
work
not
with that
funny.
person.
Who you are.
Isn't it?
Right. And probably if you take it straight line, you still gonna get.
You still, so that's one that experience. It does happen that there's nothing against it. And I don't work with them anyway. But that's what like Ken said, but I didn't see that so much choice, right? It's, I see that.
walked away.
Sure. It's and that's okay.
That's it.
We don't have to watch it. It's a choice.
All I'm saying is that you choose where you're going to draw the line on your private self.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. So I do want to, okay, so James, you heard that name come up. That is James Charles on the calendar. He runs the Pivot and Inspire. If you're not a part of that group, please join the group. Join the free version. It's well worth it. Giselle is a top producing agent with Kelly Williams. If you don't know who Giselle is, what is your last name? Yeah.
Lugard.
Tell me.
Lugard, I think.
Lugard.
Yeah.
I was gonna say phone guard. Okay, so going back, what was your most enlightening moment that Banner that you can actively implement in your business? What did you take away that you're going to implement?
I would
And
say,
it can be simple.
yeah, I would say for me, and it's not something that I haven't heard before. But for whatever reason, the light bulb went out. And it was when Gary V said, post it anyway. Stop overthinking it and post it anyway. This resonated for me because I do get a great part of my business from social media. And I know that if I stay consistent, and maybe even implement more educational pieces, which I don't know if that's true, but in my mind it's true. So I'm sticking with it. So implementing more educational pieces would be probably a huge benefit to my business. And don't overthink it. Don't worry about your hair. Stop worrying about you saying too much. That's I said. But stop overthinking it and just post it.
Just post it. Because the people who have supported you, trust me, they know about your
And if you're gonna implement, yeah, well,
Get the class early.
you got strong. I did those one early. You did great. Apparently the people got there yesterday. Now mine was a little bit more of a reassurance. Because I know we're getting beat up the head with AI, we're getting beat up the head with social media. It's been almost 30 years. I'm an old, so I don't adapt as well. I don't grasp these new things as well, even though I know I need to. So my great gift was when Gary Keller says we're not going to get knocked out of the market by working off referral-based business.
No, it's not true.
Thank you. So that combined with, yes, I do need to learn AI. I do need to leverage AI. I do need to learn and do some things and implement some things, and that's the direction. But mine's going to be in a way of freeing up my time so I can get more face-to-face time with people, because that's how I do business. I do business face-to-face. I build relationships, and so mine was kind of okay. Yes, I'm not just going to have to reinvent the wheel of the way I've done real estate business for 30 years. I just got to take some pieces and learn those new pieces to where my personal time is freed up so I can continue doing business the way I like to do business.
Love that.
Quinn?
What I would implement is coming from Donald Miller. When someone asks you, what do? You respond, normally we will respond, oh, I'm a real estate realtor. Instead, I would implement where I'm giving them the story. This is the kind of individual that I help. I'm in real estate. It's sort of how it goes. So it would look something like, so what do you do? So you know that person who just got their credit, just came out of school, just whatever, got a new job. I help that individual become a first-time home buyer.
Love that.
Okay.
Well done.
So tell that story again. It solidifies.
So mine's also going to be from Donald Miller, because he basically said in part of his presentation, he said, I can pretty much guarantee you almost all of you guys are overcomplicating your story. Right. And so my reference point to that is, have y'all ever seen that movie Bull Girl? I know it's an old movie. Anybody seen Bull Girl? There's a point in the movie where the coach, they're in a losing streak, and the coach is like, I don't know what to do. It's minor league teams. And the old catcher says, you got to scare the kids. And so he runs into the shower while they're taking a shower. Now they're lost. And he throws all the bats across the shower and scares the bejesus out of them. And he says, this is a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball. Got it? And that's the story that we need to tell ourselves more often, because what we do is simple. We help people achieve their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And keeping that story and that narrative simple is the way you're going to connect with people, not by being the stats guy, not by being whatever it is that we all are. So the one thing that stuck with me is keep it simple, Ken. Just keep it simple.
Except on LinkedIn. LinkedIn wants those things. Send me to
Mine was Giselle. She was definitely, some of the breakouts were great, and I did love Donald Miller.
yes.
But I have to get on camera. Like, I can put all the just solds and the just listeds and all of those things on there, and I can, write up, she maybe does little blogs and all these things, and those are great, but they want to see me.
Yeah.
I am the face of my business. They want to see me when they call me. At any time I have a cold listing or appointment or anything like that, once I've talked to them on the phone, when I get there, they greet me with hugs, because I am the person of my business, and I've got to do that more so that they can see me.
That's great.
But what you think, what did I learn?
Oh, no. What did you learn?
So what I learned from Pandora Union, not just Pandora Union, anytime you leave your house and you're traveling, you might want to take a look. It's early to see you some dollars.
Oh, yeah.
You never know what's in gonna get done.
So Michelle was down the entire thing there.
The whole thing.
So she can see it.
Yep.
I was gonna give some props to Princeton. So probably 2 months ago, we were in a discussion about creating a story around all this stuff and whatever. And Princeton's like, I don't care what you say. We can post whatever you want us to post, but they want to see your face. And I'm like, no, they don't. And he's like, yes, they do. He's like, yeah, they do. And it's so hard in all transparency for me to understand that. I'll be like, hey, let's go to lunch. No, go to lunch with Ken. Go to lunch with Cindy. Go to lunch with Christy. Not me. Like, and it's hard for me to understand that. So props to you for realizing that. And he's a big fan of Gary Vee and all these things. Before Baylor Union, because he did. He's like drilling that in my head. So going back to what Cindy said, I probably need to say, guys, implement that a little bit more in what we're doing here. Right. Any questions? We have a lot of classes coming up around these things, right? Implementation. Y'all know the drill workshops. How do you do what we're talking about? Right. So we're not just talking, we're doing the work. Look at the plan. No, I love the plan. Y'all good?
Yep.
Any questions? Love it. All right. Lead gen with Cindy, 9 a.m. Every day. Every day. Plan that too Friday. Sorry. 9 to 10 guys log on is very instrumental in what you're doing. I will say David Castaneda is a huge fan. And Canon is straight crazy.
Well, and he's working hard. He's there almost every day. Clint's there almost every day. Clarissa's there almost every day. Kenneth's there almost every day. Like,
He told me he's never met a person as intentional in another person's business as he was.
yes, and I had to have we had a conversation. Clint helped me out today to have a conversation with him at the end of class of the call because he's feeling it. He's making the calls and he's not getting the business and he needs to know what to do because we don't know what to do.
We make more calls.
Exactly, and that's what we kind of told him. But we also told him how to find other people to talk to.
Yes.
We told him the calls are just part of it, and like and I gave him some more resources, and that's something that if you're on these calls, we give expireds, we give. I give links to all the calls during the day that you can go on all throughout the day. We have, and I send these out to everybody. So
Yeah.
you're getting the email. That's up to you if you want to get on it. Like, I'm not going to force anybody on it.
If you want people to pour into you, you have to pour on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
So we did scripted role play today on Tuesdays. We did with Clint, and it was great. We had some
Yeah.
great conversations. So
But you gotta show up. You gotta want it. You gotta want it a little bit more, right? The why has to be bigger than the how.
I want to also add, it's not always the direction that you go where you'll see the results. Sometimes, and I know for myself, and I'm pretty sure others can say the same, but a lot of times, if you put it in a call, you're calling people, you're texting, you're doing all the things, you may not get the results from that particular activity. However, for some reason, you put it out there in the universe, it will come from a totally different place. And I will say an example. I was calling earlier this week, just calling, texting, doing my spear, following up, nothing came from it. 2 hours later, my lender calls, said, hey, sis, I got a pre-approved buyer for you. Thank you, Jesus. And again, it didn't come from that activity, but it still came. And I think it's because you push that energy out into the universe, it comes back.
And you're intentional in something.
And this is the way it gets started.
Yes.
Your day. Like, this is the hardest part, is just to get started. Whether you call expireds or not, just getting on there. I know there are some people who get on there and don't call nobody, because I do it some days. So, but it's part of the day, and it's part of the things that we do.
March 5th, Cindy is holding a class, Law of the Lid. If you don't know what that means, you need to show up to the class.
It's all about your why. It's all about your why.
It's a good class.
March 5th, you need to do it. It ties into your value proposition. You need to believe that because you've got to get clarity around what you're doing is why you're doing it. You need to do this to build your value proposition. Because if you're going up against a seasoned agent at a whatever, like a seller or listing appointment, and I know my value prop, but you don't know it, and I've got my data, you don't know it, I could build a rapport with that person, but you can't, I'm gonna win it. I'm gonna teach you, right? You need to know your why. You gotta want it, right? Because some sellers and buyers don't know about the they want the rapport, they want the conversation, right? Roles and scripts with Craig Smith, March 9th, 11 to 12 on this one, the one in the chair. We are on 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on chapters 5 and 6, so we'll be reviewing that Friday. Those are really good conversations that we're having at Atomic Habits and implementing the values behind habits. You want to become habitual what you're going to make it easier. That's all it is. I'm not naturally habitual. I've had to learn to be because it helps me move my needle forward in my business. Oh my God.
More lead gen, keep going.
More lead gen boot camp with me, March 11th, 10:30 to 1:30. It's a long class, but it's a good class. It's not really a class, it's a workshop. So I say class, when you come in here to learn, we're coming in here to implement. So when you RSVP, you get an email from me saying this is what you need to make sure you have in place to accomplish these goals. So you're not walking in here saying, what's my password? I'm like, I have go CPC or go do whatever you got to do, but it ain't here yet. You're not ready. Oh, okay, yes.
It's business all weekend. What business does Gary Keller say we are in, people? Lead gen, the lead generation business. That is what real estate is.
Cherry Blossom Festival is coming up. All right, small disclosure on this. It's March 21st and 22nd, Lord mercy. Under RSVP, when you RSVP for this, you are going to have to pay. And let me tell you why. It's $30. You're going to meet a lot of people, add a lot of people to your database. But that's not why. You know why? Accountability. I need to make sure if you tell me you're going to be there, you're actually going to show up. And the only way that I found that I could do that is to assess the skin game.
This is just a flyer saying that there's an event. Do we have a table or booths? What's going on?
Yeah.
That says nothing about that.
We do. We have a tent booth thing, like
You have a
tent thing. We have a yes. Yeah, we have vendors, all this stuff. We probably added last year to our database probably 200 people. Just some QR codes that they signed up for. This is a great event. But this is it's a festival type thing.
So the
but
horse park, it's just.
It's a big festival.
Time event, it's huge. It's huge. It's been, that has been going on almost all my life.
Yeah.
Google Connor's Cherry
Oh,
Blossom.
sorry.
Educate yourself.
So you need to
Hey,
tell
because I'm older than 35. I am
Do you have we do. On the RCP, we sit outside, you give us a sign up, whatever you want,
So
and then you'll give us.
so pay attention to that already.
Okay.
There's a lot of traffic.
Everybody don't be supporting anything.
You are.
Well, you gotta bring your stuff. Yeah. I don't like your one person second quarter complaining about adding to your database if you don't show up to these events that this office is putting in place for you. I won't hear. So I'm saying I guess the $30 is too much for you. I'm sorry. My apologies. Now, on the other side of that, if by chance you don't have the $30, come have a conversation with me. Right? Tell me the why so we can get you a deal. But other than that, let me make provisions to make that happen. I'm not saying that the money's everything. I'm just saying we need some accountability. Now, the money that we take in is going to be donated to for kids. Because this is all sponsored by vendors. And that's it, guys. Frank can run out before we flood. Let's go set it up.
Also, group coaching is today at 2:00. We're starting our DocuSign deep dive. We're doing about sign today, and we're doing probably again next week at least. So we're going to go over like how to look it up in, how to do templates, envelopes, the whole, and some like, best practices, but yeah, I'm cool with that, so.
Accent's not changing, it's just that nobody knows how to use it. Well, you can probably use it. Well, it is changing, and Jay announced that, but in July, but it is.
But you're please give us something like a different version, almost exactly the same, it works the same way, it just looks a little.
The one class I took changed, it's almost the same.
So learning to do DocuSign will not be always, but you will work the same way.
I actually talked to my TC and she's already used on Wolf, so it's gonna be a consent transition.
And Longwood runs transaction, that's the original list, so it's all the same.
It'll just be in this system. And that's gonna have like every binder.
Calendars for March, like what kind of days? Same path we say, there's events on there for flyers, there's already for there on it too. Tons of stuff. Like,
Everybody, we have one more class at the end of this month. I'm teaching one more class at the end of this month. It's going to be working with investors, March 30th. That's going to be on Monday. It's going to be for 2 hours. We're just going to go over how it looks when you guys are working with investors, and we're going to slightly get into you yourself becoming an investor with that.
Is it on the calendar?
March 9th.
you might have the, if that's, you have the older calendar, but did you grab that downstairs? It's reprinted.
Yeah.
It's on there. It's one positive.
It's got a fan. See it. Yeah. Right. Now we know.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Billy.
We got Bojangles. So we can.
That is, we have to go straight out, so, we're gonna go ahead and let, Pastor Shell, that's still there, Pastor Shell, let's start.
Yeah.
Got it done.
God, so much better reading. I'm just coughing stuff up, but
We still got to hear.
I was really steady. I'll let. Something like it's
You have 2 minutes?
Yeah.
5 minutes? Okay.
Hey, Fred. He's ready to get started. She wants to tell us ready to get started on the devotion.
Is it okay if I text you?
Oh, one is small. Sheldon's ready. We now are. Okay.
Oh, I'll take it up.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I got it. So, pest control thing at the house.